What city produces the best basketball players?
Oh, brother, what a play!
New York.
New York.
What a play to take it to himself!
New York City.
Another hook shot. He's got the field.
Dolph Cousy hooking and hitting.
The best words that would describe a New York City ball player: swagger.
New York has this aura, and because of the history and the legacy from other players.
Basketball is a really big part of the culture.
Bernard taking Albert baseline and up and in. Bernard King.
People really love the game.
We eat, sleep, we drink basketball. That's all we know. Being from New York, you gotta have that mentality in order to make it.
That's Brooklyn basketball right there, folks.
New York City is definitely the toughest place to make it, but I think it produces the best basketball players.
He's in his zone. Wow.
When you talk about a New York City ball player, you're talking about sort of a cocksure attitude.
From point guards
Here comes Jackson.
to shooters
What a tough shot that was.
to guys with crazy athletic abilities.
Hawkins. Oh, my.
That's definitely the place that has produced the best basketball players.
Much like the playgrounds around Brooklyn, New York.
New York players always play with a chip on their shoulder, and I'm very proud to be from there.
Sons of the City. A look at some of the greatest NBA players to come from New York City. Basketball may not have been born in New York, but it was certainly raised there, as were many of the NBA's greatest stars. And if any position on the floor says New York, it's point guard. It's a legacy that began with Bob Cousy.
The man with these fantastic moves could only be Bob Cousy, considered the greatest little man in basketball history.
He's from New York, went to Andrew Jackson High School before he went up to Holy Cross College. He's a guy who's resourceful. I think what New Yorkers are, they're tough and they're resourceful. And they figure things out. They get it. They manage to find a way for them to succeed.
When you see what he did through high school in New York, at Holy Cross, and then with the Boston Celtics, he was just a wizard with the basketball.
Growing up in Queens, Bob learned to be ambidextrous. But whichever way he went, Cousy had a style that was all New York.
Bob Cousy was the first great playmaker and all-around guy who incorporated stuff.
He has developed his dribbling skill to a fine art. With complete control at all times, Bob can go in any direction.
Over to Bob Cousy, and watch this shot.
Cousy revolutionized backcourt play. There were other guards in the league that were getting the job done for their teams, but none of them could touch Cousy for style.
He used the behind-the-back pass, and he was kind of the fancy player, and he was a magician with the ball.
They all called him the Magician.
He's the prototypical point guard. He basically invented the position.
First team 10 times in a 13-year career. A career in which he scored more than 18,000 points and made almost 7,000 assists.
I mean, he really had the mentality of a great playmaker. He could see things unfold before they happened.
Bob Cousy, number 14, goes on a rampage.
How does that translate to the modern game? It's different, but winners are winners. If it means scoring points, you're willing to do that.
Bob Cousy hitting.
If it means giving up the ball,
Cousy, the superstar.
whatever's going to help your team win the game is what a basketball player is about.
Watch Bob Cousy exhibit that tremendous skill which has made people call him Mr. Basketball.
Bob Cousy would be a winning point guard.
Your guard, in my estimation, becomes the extension of the coach on the court. He was the extension of our back on the court. Cousy was a lot like Red in the sense of, you're going to have to satisfy me to get the ball.
We had overwhelming talent, and with a master psychologist and motivator as coach. You know, we were all pretty much ghetto kids who came charging out of those ghettos. And Arnold was one himself coming out of Brooklyn, and it was, you know, we came self-motivated.
Two New Yorkers, Cousy and Red Auerbach, helped to build a dynasty.
The fast break actually is carefully planned and executed.
Behind Cousy, Boston's fast break helped reinvent the game, and the combination of Cousy and Bill Russell was unstoppable.
Instead of just competing for the playoff spots, they were now with their eyes only on championship play. That was the target for every single year. The only talk in the Celtic dressing room at the time was, who were we going to play for the championship?
The kid from Queens became a Boston icon. leading the Celtics to 6 NBA titles and leaving a Made in New York mark on both the Celtics and the game.
You know, you say these NFL coaching trees starting with Paul Brown going to Bill Walsh. Well, he is the top of the point guard tree. And it starts here in New York, and he continues with guys like Connie, Archibald, and Mark Jackson, and Kenny Anderson. But it all starts with Cousy because of the way he played the game.
Coach Knight says the mental is to the physical, and the game of basketball is 4:1. And Mark Jackson is the definitive illustration of that.
Open, open, open! Mark Jackson and I have been playing since we were 13. His dad used to come into Brooklyn to pick me up, to bring me to Queens.
Played at Bishop Loughlin High School in Brooklyn, played at St. John's.
He's part of that great tradition of the New York point guard.
Hey, hey, hey! Hey, good finish, Mark.
A lot of point guards come out of New York, and they all really have a very high basketball IQ, and that epitomizes New York City players.
I fell in love with it at an early age, watching Earl Monroe just do incredible stuff on the floor. And right away I realized I wanted to become a professional basketball player. I wanted to one day put on a Knick jersey and play in Madison Square Garden. It was a dream, and it meant everything to me.
I still remember draft day when it came time for the Knicks to pick, and the crowd really wanted Mark Jackson to get picked.
For the 18th pick in the 1987 NBA draft,
you could see the expression on his face when they said, the New York Knicks select
Mark Jackson.
Most rookies come into the league and they're a little bit intimidated, but Mark was never intimidated. He came in, he ran the team from day one.
Jackson keeping it alive, finding Ewing.
And he went out there and played, and he's Rookie of the Year, his rookie year at 87-88.
Jackson with the steal. Jackson behind the back to Ewing.
And he was really so valuable to the Knicks at that point in time that he was a necessary cog on that team.
Jackson eventually left the New York Knicks and took his show on the road, displaying his Brooklyn street smarts in 6 other NBA cities.
Mark Jackson's basketball IQ, his is off the charts.
Hey, T, zip it down.
He wasn't a great athlete. He's not the quickest guy, he's not the fastest guy, he doesn't explode to the basket. So he compensated by using his intelligence and his guile.
Unbelievable.
One of only 4 players to rack up over 10,000 assists, Mark averaged 8 assists per game in his 17-year career to finish 3rd all-time in assists.
Mark just had a great feel for the game. He knew how to get everybody involved in the game.
Incredible.
He was a great passer.
Jackson finding McDaniel.
He always seemed to get the ball to the right players at the right time, which is a sign of a great point guard.
Here comes Jackson, finding Best. Yes, Wilkins from Jackson.
Mark was flashy at times.
Oh, what a play. Mark Jackson with a neat handoff.
He had this unique way of shooting a foul shot. He'd hold his hand up as if he was testing the air. And he always had that little teardrop when he got into the lane because he had a big body. He can back some guards down.
Terrific play by Jackson.
He worked extremely hard to get in shape, to polish his skills.
While everybody else is at home, finished practice, relaxing in their bed, the turtle sneaks up on the rabbits, and that's me.
Mark Jackson's hard work and dedication, developed on the courts of New York City, injected a winning mentality into every team he played for.
Mark Jackson has been dynamite.
Look at the career that Mark Jackson had with the Clippers. That team was a laughingstock. That team made a playoff, and Mark Jackson had a lot to do with that.
Jackson to the hole.
And if you go back to 2000.
Let me hear how y'all gonna scream out there.
The Pacers go to the NBA Finals.
I love you guys, baby. We going to the show.
He had so much to do with that team being able to make that run and getting to a finals. Unfortunately for them, they ran into a much better Lakers team.
Oh, what a pass by Jackson.
The old veteran is coming up with all the tricks tonight.
If you'd have thought Mark was going to play 13, 14, 15 years when he came out of St. John's, you probably would have bet against it. He persevered.
Over the right corner, Cheney. The shot. Move over, Magic Johnson. There's a new man, number 2 in assists in the history of the NBA.
When all is said and done, Mark Jackson will be in the Hall of Fame. Those assist numbers are just too good to keep him out.
Assist number 15 for Mark Jackson.
In New York, we're pretty arrogant about our players, especially our point guards, and we know that so many great ones came from here, from Bob Cousy, Tiny Archibald, and there's Mark Jackson, just as good as any of them.
What a moment for Jackson.
And he just made himself into a great player. He found his win. His win was his head. Successful people are people who soar with their strengths and are able to manage their weaknesses. Not a great athlete, goes into an athletic league, and he just stays around for 17 years and has a great career because he was so intelligent.
Unheralded, Archibald has burst upon the NBA scene as the newest of the fabulous little men.
Tiny's a little guy. He's about 6'1", maybe 165 pounds.
You've got to credit Tiny Archibald for that sensational pass. Archibald on a drive at the other end, beautifully done.
I was in high school when I first saw Tiny play. He was playing for David Clinton up in the Bronx, and he was a winner.
Growing up in New York, when you get to play in the NBA, you get to play against some of the world's greatest athletes. And then when you go back into kind of your community and play against guys, competition was fierce.
Watch this crossover.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the crossover. When we played, it was not for friendship. It was for blood and guts. Sometimes we played for sodas, sometimes we played for sandwiches, sometimes we played for your sneakers.
The lessons Tiny learned on the streets of the Bronx helped him make an impact from the moment he stepped onto an NBA court.
He was a second-round pick of the Cincinnati Royals, and he was playing behind a guy named Norm Van Leer. Norm was an outstanding player, very good defender, hard-nosed, very competitive guy. And his rookie year, Tiny played so well that Cincinnati traded Norm to the Chicago Bulls, and then Tiny ended up starting for them. They had a great feel for the game a lot of New York City players have.
Tiny Archibald is an unguardable player in his earlier times because of his speed and his quickness. He's kind of like the Allen Iverson of his time.
Not a lot of room to pass, and once again, the bounce pass.
He was amazing. He was so quick. He was ambidextrous.
Look at the quick hands of Archibald.
Great penetration by Tiny.
Head and shoulder fakes.
Vintage Nate the Skate there.
And he was dynamic. He was entertaining. He played hard every night.
Fearless and one of the game's great finishers.
He was so competitive for a little guy. They'd knock him down, he'd get right back up.
Look at Archibald penetrate.
He got in the lane and he got the ball up on the backboard and he had the spin on it and it always seemed to go in the basket.
Boy, if he finds an inch, he can get a field goal. That's an incredible shot there.
And he just knew how to play the angles and he knew how to play the game and he knew what he needed to do to help his team win.
All right,
And in his third year in the league, becomes the only player in history in the NBA to lead the NBA in scoring and assists.
Tiny's remarkable 34 points and 11 assists in the 72-73 season defined the do-it-all makeup of a New York City point guard.
Archibald, boy, he keeps the tempo going. There's another assist to him.
It shows that he is unselfish. At the same time, he could take over a game when he has to.
if he gets hot, he could turn the lights out by himself.
It's very seldom that a player can lead the league in scoring and also do the kind of things he did from an assist standpoint, as far as getting his teammates involved, as far as running the team. If you ran, he gave you the ball. So everybody wanted to play with him because he was so unselfish. And that's why he got so many assists, because he was always passing. Just a great teammate, just a great player to play with.
After 7 years in the NBA, the Bronx native followed Cousy's footsteps to Boston.
In his second straight All-Star appearance, in his 5th overall from the Boston Celtics, 6'1", Nate Tiny Archibald.
He's the MVP of the 1981 All-Star game.
Here's Archibald inside. Tiny put Walter Davis on him. Tiny Archibald.
Tiny, you were the first among your peers this afternoon, and here is this award, and I'm happy to present it to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I tried to get the ball to the people that were open, penetrate as much as I could, and then dish off.
Congratulations, Tiny.
Thank you.
On a team filled with all-stars, Archibald played a key role in returning the NBA's most storied franchise to its days of championship glory.
He played on some of those great Celtic teams with McHale, Parrish, and Bird, and he really knew how to run the team, and his teammates had great respect for him.
It's all over. The Boston Celtics have won the World Championship in 1981.
I just try to pick my spots and try to keep the team going, and that's my job, Rick, not to score anymore, but keep the team going, and I'm glad we just won.
He just changed the game so much because it gave a lot of people hope that they could play in the NBA like the Muggsy Bowles of the world, et cetera, et cetera.
Has he made a difference or what?
A man of few words, he just produced on the floor, and that he did.
He just had a great career.
Archibald, remarkable play.
Played the game the right way. Was so fundamentally sound. There were a lot of other guards who had more natural ability, certainly had a lot more sizzle in their game, but no one had more substance. It was all about sharing the ball, playing as a team game.
Great pass.
He's the guy in the modern age who was the quintessential New York City point guard.
Growing up in New York taught Lenny Wilkins basketball lessons that would last a lifetime.
He went to my alma mater, which was Boys High School in Brooklyn.
I only knew one way to play, and that was hard.
When I was growing up in Brooklyn, we played on the playgrounds quite a bit. And back then, I mean, they wouldn't let you play if you couldn't pass or rebound, make the plays.
Lenny Wilkins was a tremendous star. Very, very gifted, a very driven kid. He worked his butt off to get what he did, and he wasn't a guy who looked to take shortcuts.
That work ethic picked up on the streets of Brooklyn brought Wilkins success both on the courts and sidelines of the NBA.
In the lineage of point guards in New York, he's underneath Cousy, but he's part of that great tradition of the New York point guard.
You are talking about a player who knew how to use what he had. And what he knew he had was that beautiful move to the basket, and he worked real hard to perfect it.
One thing about Lenny, he was left-handed. You knew he was going to go left, and you couldn't stop him.
He was able to set other players up while we were focusing on trying to stop his penetration. We all knew that eventually he would go to his left hand, but stopping him was an altogether different story.
He was a real reader, and that's when you knew right then and there, it was very obvious that this kid's going to be a coach.
The player coach of the Seattle Supersonics, the leading playmaker in the NBA, Lenny Wilkins.
It's a cliche about being a coach on the floor. That's what he was. And he could get people to play together. He could get people to understand what they needed to do to win a game.
People were ready to listen to Lenny Wilkins whenever he spoke. He becomes a coach.
He's the player coach at age 32, and we don't see that anymore.
You know, we function as a team, so we lose as a team, and we also win as a team.
You have to play and be effective and be a teammate, but then you also have to be the authoritative figure when it comes to telling guys what to do.
He certainly knew how to talk to people and get them to listen and follow through.
Lenny Wilkins was able to pull that off, and I'm not surprised because he was a demanding player, and he was also a demanding coach, and I think that's one of his great qualities.
Wilkins eventually moved to the Sonics front office, but when the team stumbled to a 5-17 record to start the 1977 season, the Brooklyn point guard reclaimed his spot on Seattle's bench. The move led to one of the most remarkable turnarounds in league history, as Wilkins led Seattle to the 77-78 NBA Finals, where they lost in 7 games.
Imagine that, going from 5-17 to being in the NBA Finals.
The next year, Lenny coached the Sonics to their only title, securing his place among the sports legends of the Pacific Northwest.
You go out to Seattle, he is like Mr. Seattle when it comes to basketball.
They have good fans there.
Oh, you were by far my favorite coach.
Lenny paced NBA sidelines for 25 more years, and while there were no more championships, Wilkins did win his place alongside the all-time coaching greats, including the greatest of them all.
He's a teacher.
And then when the big guy puts the ball on the floor, 1-2 dribble, whoever's on top, be on it.
See, that's what I like about when he's a teacher, and he's got the patience. And he gets his point across.
If you see your guy starting to hang around on a double team, don't get so far up ahead. See where you can be here.
And when he moved past Auerbach on January 6, 1995, it was entirely appropriate for Wilkins to light one of Red's trademark Victory cigars.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winningest coach in NBA history, Lenny Wilkins.
He's the second person inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame, both as a player and as a coach, John Wooden being the first, Bill Sharman being the third. There are only 3 now.
Brooklyn's Lenny Wilkens, a legendary NBA player and coach, a truly remarkable son of the city. Any great team needs a great coach, and New York City, particularly Brooklyn, has produced more than its share. Doug Moe began his coaching career as an ABA assistant under Larry Brown. The style coaches had from New York may not be as sophisticated as the city's guards, but they were no less successful.
Spider-Man! Come on, Fat!
Doug is the Denver Nuggets' all-time winningest coach.
Ben, follow your shot!
Brooklyn's Frank Layden spent 7.5 years coaching the Utah Jazz,
Nothing wrong with that.
where he was both colorful and successful.
All right, let's go. Come on now.
People didn't take me very seriously.
A drink of water? Okay, let's taste it first. You want to taste it? Yeah. How do I know somebody didn't put something in it?
Frank Layden was a good coach, not a great coach.
He ran back to help. He didn't really help, and he really didn't get back on defense, right? You got to do one or the other.
We've made a fine living out of basketball, and I don't think I ever did anything to embarrass it. That's really what's important. But in the meanwhile...
Kevin Lockery began at the bottom when he became player coach of the losingest team ever, the 1973 Philadelphia 76ers. The next year, he proved himself with the ABA's New York Nets and ended at the top.
Lockery's a very good basketball coach. When he had good players, he won the ABA championship twice.
A coach who won 2 NBA championships is Brooklyn's Red Holtzman.
I didn't want to coach, and I tried to get out of it. But they said there's nobody else, it's you.
He led the Knicks to the only 2 championships in their history.
He is the guy who makes it all kind of click. And he's the guy who has the vision of how the team should play.
This is a guy who thought that, you know, if you played together without the basketball on defense, you could play together with the basketball. And that the team growth started from this collective ability to help each other.
The Knicks teams, their championship teams of 70 and 73, resonated deeply with the New York City basketball community because the kind of basketball that Red Holtzman preached and got his Knicks team to play is what we grew up with in New York.
Possibly the greatest head coach of all time in any sport also grew up in Brooklyn, Arnold Red Auerbach.
You think of Red Auerbach, you think of excellence.
The Boston Celtics are once again the world champions.
Red Auerbach is a guy who builds the first dynasty, 11 titles in 13 years.
Auerbach had the side, the rough side, of course, as a coach, calling names, all that kind of stuff. But the rules are very clear. You lose one game, it's never acceptable, but he understood. You lose 2 games in a row.
Long pass into Chamberlain. Whoa.
I can't really use the terms that he would use, but basically he would say, bleep, bleep. And the practices were horrendous. They were back to the training camp days. So the message was always clear. Don't lose.
Under Red Auerbach, they rarely did.
It all starts with him, and it all starts with his vision, how the game should be played.
Where every action is directed to moving the ball into scoring position before the defense has a chance to get set.
You win a championship, you should have a cigar in your mouth.
The time finally comes for Red Auerbach to light his victory cigar.
Is this the real one? Is this what he actually would smoke and light up to rub it in?
Red Auerbach has his victory cigar out.
Do you think he would have picked a better brand? This was coaching trash talk right here, is what this was about. Of course, back then, they wouldn't allow any kind of trash talk. When Red, wow, he'll light this thing here. It was his way of saying, I got you again.
While New Yorkers love to brag on their guards, there is no shortage of big men who hail from one of the 5 boroughs. In 1965, Billy Cunningham was drafted 5th overall by Philadelphia. When the 76ers came to the Garden, Billy's mom made sure the homecomings were especially sweet.
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. The players on Philadelphia loved it because my mom used to bring a bag of cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and by the time we got out of the locker room, I didn't have one. It was the way of life almost in Brooklyn to play basketball. There were a limited amount of baseball fields, but there was always a basketball hoop.
Cunningham had to earn his minutes in Philly, coming off the bench for a loaded 76ers team, and he certainly made the most of his chances.
The thing about Billy C was he provided great energy when he got in the game. Great energy and a left hand. That's a heck of a combination.
Billy Cunningham has been known as instant offense. He became the 76ers' sixth man. He comes in cold, and he just tears the other team apart. The name, the Kangaroo Kid, really tells the story because this is exactly what he is, and he gives us that offensive punch that we need so many times to get us going when things get a little bit dull.
Here was a left-hander who had outstanding skills, medium-range jump shot, and a good fake and a good, strong move to the basket. And he could really jump. You're just watching Billy, and you're saying, wow, you know, this guy is something special. Fortunately, they didn't play him all game long. He was there, a man off the bench, the sixth man, and I always preferred to see Billy C on the bench.
Billy Cunningham explodes all the stereotypes. White men can't jump. Well, he could. He was the Kangaroo Kid.
Sometimes it seemed the 6'6" Cunningham would jump right through the roof, and Billy's scoring and rebounding helped the Sixers win their first ever title.
He's on their championship team in '67 with Wilt and Luke Jackson, Chet Walker, Hal Greer, which a lot of people thought was the greatest team ever.
But that team was dismantled, and Cunningham went from role player to star player. Over a 4-year stretch, the Kangaroo Kid averaged 24 and 12 and made 4 straight NBA All-Star teams.
This 76er is playing in his second All-Star game. In North Carolina, Billy Cunningham.
But as Cunningham's career reached its height, the 76ers were bottoming out. With the Sixers' glory of fading memory, Cunningham signed with Carolina, where he was named MVP of the ABA, before finishing his playing career back in Philly. He retired as the 3rd leading scorer and 3rd leading rebounder in Sixers franchise history. Then, in 1978, his old team needed new leadership.
You have Bobby here. Bring it down into the corner. Force the defense to do something. Now you've created this situation. Now you have a good box. You're too close here. Spread it out a little bit more and bring it down more to the corner.
Cunningham led the Sixers on 3 trips to the finals.
Little Mo, Big Mo, the Doctor, Andrew Toney, and Ivoroni. No baloney.
That 3rd trip to the finals would prove to be a charm, largely thanks to Moses Malone. He promised a Philadelphia sweep of the playoffs.
Good game. Way to work.
Cunningham's Sixers did lose 1 game to Milwaukee in the conference finals, but in the finals, they opened up a 3-0 lead versus LA.
We want to end it in 4. We want someone to remember this team.
End it in 4 they did, and Brooklyn's Billy Cunningham, forever a son of New York City, became Philadelphia's favorite son.
He's on a championship team as a player in Philadelphia, and he coaches them to their next championship in 1983.
Perhaps Cunningham's greatness as a player, which earned him a place in the Basketball Hall of Fame, overshadows his greatness as a coach. The only man with a higher lifetime winning percentage is Phil Jackson. And Billy was just the 4th man in league history to win titles with the same team as both player and coach.
Connie Hawkins, who's my all-time favorite player. When he was a senior at Boys High, I was in the 8th grade, and I'd follow him around from playground to playground. He was the most exciting player for a young kid that I've ever seen. He was a demigod in my eyes.
Connie Hawkins.
Connie Hawkins considered one of the greatest New York City players ever because Connie Hawkins played like a New Yorker. When I get in the game, for those 48 minutes, I'm giving you numbers.
Connie had formidable skills. He was certainly in the category of any of the great offensive forwards in the game.
Connie Hawkins was Julius Erving 8 years before Julius. He was Michael Jordan 21 years before Michael Jordan.
Connie Hawkins, he of the incredible moves.
Connie really started the graceful gliding to the basket, almost like a ballet dancer on a basketball court.
Kind of skills of handling the ball, looking and making moves and being pizzazzy as a ball handler was sometimes seemingly a throwback to the Globetrotter days.
He was the first player that could hold a ball in his hand.
He was the first master of one-handed ball control. His hands were so big, he'd palm the ball off the dribble.
They bring it to Connie Hawkins, top of the key. He fires under to Salas. He's got it. A layup.
He'd actually palm rebounds coming out of the air, not cup them, palm them.
It's just really tough to kind of stop a guy that can hold a ball like a grapefruit, as Connie did. He was beautiful to watch.
It took Connie Hawkins longer than most superstars to get to the NBA, but once he did, he made Brooklyn and all of New York proud.
He goes and he plays in the old ABL, and he's the MVP of the league for Pittsburgh. And then what he does is he plays for the Globetrotters for 3 years. And then the ABA surfaces, and they take him in. And he's the MVP in the first season of the ABA, 67-68.
In 1969, at the age of 27, Hawkins joined the Phoenix Suns. The four-time NBA All-Star averaged over 20 points per game in his first 3 seasons in the NBA.
The leading scorer of the Phoenix Suns, playing in his first All-Star game at 6'8" from Iowa, Connie Hawkins.
He created so many options for himself and for his players, and so sometimes I thought Connie was so good, he had to make a choice.
58 seconds left. Connie for the jumper. Good.
He played hard all the time.
When Connie got in the game, it was like, okay, let's keep him under 40. Not let's keep him from scoring. Let's keep him under 40.
And he played for result, not for effect. He didn't try to showcase his talent. He played to win the game.
10 seconds left in the game. Hawkins, drive, hangs. What a shot. Brother. Incredible.
He didn't have a power body, but he had a great natural instinctive feel for the game. He was a terrific passer.
Hawkins. Oh, my.
He was a spectacular dunker.
He would go to the basket, and he would finish it on you.
Connie Hawkins, beauty.
Defensively, he had the gift of long arms and large hands and excellent timing. You could go to the basket and lay that ball up someplace where you think he can't get it, and he would go up and pluck it out of the air with one hand. The smile part that he enjoyed showed you that he enjoyed the move, showed you that he enjoyed embarrassing you out there. And that's the Connie Hawkins that I liked and admired.
No, he's burning them now. He is just burning them.
He had become a real force offensively and defensively.
Had Connie come to the league in '64, he would go down in history as one of the 10 greatest players ever to play the game.
Hawkins retired in 1976. While others may have had longer careers, few were as dazzling as the Hawk, a New York City legend.
He looks like a New York player because he knows all the angles.
Played for Xaverian High School and led them to the Federation State Championship.
I was a sophomore in high school, and we played an exhibition game against Xaverian, and he came in and had 39 in 2 quarters.
I literally played all over the city, had a lasting impression, not only the way I wound up playing the game, but also how much influence the game had on my life and the people I met, neighborhoods I went in and out of.
The neighborhood he wanted to call home was Midtown, 33rd and 7th to be specific, so he could play for his hometown team.
The Golden State Warriors select Chris Mullin from St. John's.
I always wanted to see him in a Knick uniform because it would have been over.
It would have been nice if I could stay home in New York, but I'm gonna make the best of my situation. I'm looking forward to it.
Chris goes 7th to Golden State, which you look at it now, that's a tremendous pick for Golden State that late because he's a prolific scorer for the Warriors.
37 for Mullin.
Mullin 5 years in a row, he's averaging 25 points a game, which for the Warriors hadn't been done since Will Chamberlain.
That was outrageous.
Chris was a machine of a scorer.
Here's Mullin. Oh, he is on.
You had to watch him at all times because he was an unbelievable outside shooter with tremendous range.
What a shot.
Anytime the ball touched his hand, it was gone, and it was mostly good.
And there's nothing you can do about that as a defensive player.
The strength of his game was his 18, 20-foot jump shot.
20-foot jumper, you know he'll make that.
And his ability to get open.
Absolutely amazing.
If you left him open, you could just run back down the court because it was going in.
And his passing was underrated. He could move the ball. He was always thinking a step ahead.
Mullin off
to the races. Look out with Drexler. Passes it to the trailer.
As a member of the Golden State Warriors and Indiana Pacers, Chris Mullin was one of the most exciting players in the NBA. The 16-year veteran played in 5 All-Star games, and his sharpshooting ranks him 4th on the Warriors' all-time scoring list, behind Hall of Famers Wilt Chamberlain, Rick Barry, and Paul Arizin.
Chris Mullin was the ultimate New York City gym rat.
A little Wallace, a little old body gets loose a little quicker.
People would talk about him getting the keys to the gym late at night, going in there and shooting. You could tell that he really worked on his jump shot.
He would make 100 shots from one spot, go to another spot, make 100 shots, go to the foul line, make 100 shots, over and over and over. And I just couldn't believe his work ethic. Chris is one of the hardest working players that I know.
He was never quick and he was never athletic. If you or I were to race him in a foot race, we'd have a shot.
Here goes Mullin.
They would measure your vertical or my vertical jump compared to Chris Mullin's, we'd have a shot.
Mullin with a difficult shot.
If they were to measure his basketball IQ to yours or mine, we would have no shot whatsoever.
What a remarkable play by Mullin.
In 1992, Mullin took his New York game global.
This guy was on the original Dream Team. There was a reason he was on that team. And, guys like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, they had a lot to do with picking that team.
He's looked at more than just a scorer. He's looked at as a tremendous teammate, a guy who passed the ball, who plays the game, as they say, the right way. And it's kind of the New York way. There's a lot of teamwork involved. So he's thought very highly of.
The kid from Brooklyn went to Indiana. Though he was no hick from French Lick, Mullin was right at home with the Pacers.
And if you didn't know any better, you would think he was from Indiana with the way that he looked in that game that he had.
What a shot. Oh, brother.
He still has the ability to make shots. He's still a guy who the defense has to take account of because he's a guy who can bury a shot if you're not on it.
This is Mullin with 5, looking for 3. Got it.
That's what he brings a lot to the Pacers in that era where they do make the finals.
Even though they didn't win and they lost to a better team in Los Angeles, this was a guy starting out as a freshman at St. John's until when he ended, had an unbelievable career.
Everything going for Chris Mullin.
Chris could go down in NBA history as one of the best perimeter shooters to ever play the game.
Up 3 by Chris Mullin. Go!
Chris was a hard-nosed guy from St. John's who only played one way.
Draws the crowd all the way to the basket. Got it!
He was a very special player.
Dolph Schayes of the Syracuse Nationals, the kid off the sidewalks of New York.
We played in the schoolyard, and when you play in the schoolyard, you'd set picks, you'd give and go, you kept moving, you kept the floor open.
Dolph was a former All-American at New York University.
At that time, NYU was like North Carolina, was like Syracuse. Great teams, and we played basketball the way it was supposed to be played, New York style.
Basketball, in its early years, was largely an urban game, it was largely an Eastern game, it was largely a Jewish game. And here's the first great Jewish star of the NBA.
I respect him tremendously as an individual. He played for the Syracuse Nationals.
Schayes completed a basketball trifecta of sorts. High school at DeWitt Clinton in the Bronx, college at NYU, and pro ball in upstate New York.
Syracuse is about half the size of Brooklyn. Very cold place with a lot of snow. A lot of teams didn't like to play in Syracuse because not only did we have a great team, but whenever they came up there was like a blizzard.
Until they went indoors, where Schayes was usually red hot.
The thing that made him extremely difficult to deal with was the fact he had great range on his shots.
Number 4, a big man who could shoot from anywhere.
He can stop and fire up a set shot. You got to be kidding me. He was a pain in the butt to guard. Auerbach is in my ear. You get on this guy. He's an old guy. He's been around a long time. You shut him down. Okay. He takes 2 steps past the half-court line and puts the ball in both hands and fires up a set shot. Nothing but nets.
Dolph Schayes shooting, bullseye.
I said, oh my God, this guy's great.
But who might he compare to in modern-day basketball terms?
They say he was like the Larry Bird of his era, a tremendous player, self-made player. They said the reason they compared him to the Bird is because he was always working hardest. You know, he wanted to improve his free throw shooting, and so he put a smaller rim inside of a regulation rim and practiced on that.
He was one of the dominant players in that era.
Dolph is one of the greatest rebounders in the league. There you see him in action against the New York Knicks.
He didn't have the great athletic ability that players later on developed, but the game wasn't that athletic back then. It was a different game that was played.
Schayes passing behind his back to Seymour, who puts it away.
And then he starts to play up on him tight. He starts driving past me, very slow and deliberate. You know, he was not a speed merchant. He just got to where he wanted to go.
He scored 19,000 points in a 16-year career.
Dolph was very special as an offensive player, a tough rebounder.
In that first full decade of the NBA, no player pulled in more rebounds or scored more points than Brooklyn's Dolph Schayes.
For Dolph Schayes to lead the league in scoring and rebound and to have his career end where he's one of the top all-time players in those regards is just a tribute, and that's why he was an automatic Hall of Famer as a lock.
Dolph Schayes was the most talented of forwards.
Schayes rebounding.
In terms of that entire 50s, he was able to carry the Syracuse team.
The mark of a great player is how you lead your team in terms of winning. He got to the finals 3 times. He won a championship.
The Nats nipped the Pistons in this game, 87-84, and they go on from here to win the 1955 Pro Championship.
And it was just a euphoric time for Syracuse. To be on a World's Championship team was one of the greatest thrills of my life.
The great thing about Dolph to me is, and this is really how he stands up to the test of time, the NBA had an all 25-year team and then an all 35-year team. And of course, the top 50 players after the first 50 years. He made all 3.
From the Syracuse Nationals, number 4, Dolph Schayes.
Bernard King was a machine. He was fun to watch.
What a shot by Bernard King.
He was just a prolific scorer.
Bernard King once again.
Once he got the ball, either you were going to foul him or he was going to score or do both.
Again for King, yes, and it counts.
He had great speed.
Bernard King on the run.
He has all kinds of explosive moves.
Super move by King.
He can go 1-on-3, and he'd be going 100 miles an hour straight forward. Then he can go laterally and split the defense and be able to finish.
Bernard stole it. Bernard to the basket. What a play. And down.
At every level, people doubted him. They said what he did in high school at Fort Hamilton, he couldn't do at college in the SEC playing for Tennessee. They say that game doesn't translate to the NBA. He did the same thing in the NBA.
When Bernard King gets his hands on the ball, he is unstoppable.
He started with the Nets, went to Golden State in Utah, and the Knicks traded for Bernard.
I was already in love with Bernard King because everybody in New York loved BK.
I grew up playing on the playgrounds in Brooklyn, and every kid on the street that plays basketball wants to play for the New York Knicks. It was a dream for me to play in front of my parents, my friends every night. It was a magic carpet ride.
What a break. That's vintage Bernard King.
He just had a presence about him, an aura. He has great work ethic, extremely serious, very, very competitive, and takes a lot of pride in how he plays and how his team plays.
Anyone that's watched Bernard King play, they've known that I've played because of pride, and I've worked hard to get to the level that I've been at.
A 4-time All-Star, Bernard King averaged over 22 points a game in his 14-year career. His 26.5 points per game as a New York Knick ranks him second all-time in franchise history.
He had a switch. He could turn it on and off. In the locker room, he was mellow. When it came to the game, he had his game face on. He was just intense.
Nothing is going to stop him. He's a man possessed, and he is doing it all.
He was really unstoppable.
Bernard King becomes the all-time single-game scorer in Knicks history with 60.
He could do whatever he wanted.
In 1984, the Brooklyn native accomplished a feat no player had since Wilt Chamberlain, 20 years earlier.
5 seconds. Here's Bernard looking for 50. He's got it.
And he puts together these tremendous scoring games for the Knicks.
Bernard looking for 50, and he's got it. Back-to-back 50-point games for Bernard King.
For a guy to put back-to-back 50-point games in that era, where defense is played much differently than it is now, that tells you something about his skill level and the type of driven player he was at the offensive end.
Bernard King is just punishing everybody in his way.
And he's in his prime. He's about 27 or 28.
And he was leading the league in scoring at that time. He was averaging close to 32, 33 points a game.
Then the career is drastically changed because he blows out a knee.
And I remember Reggie Theus going down for a fast break.
And back the other way is Reggie Theus.
And Bernard was chasing him down. And as he gathered to go up and try to block the shot, you could just see his body contort when he was up in the air. And as soon as he was up in the air, he heard a major snap, and he just laid on the floor, and it was really devastating.
Look out, King hurt himself.
He was our main scorer and our top guy, and just to see him in pain, it was a terrible feeling.
And you figure the career's over, because nobody's coming back at that time from a catastrophic knee injury like Bernard King suffered.
And he put in relentless work, and his rehab was unbelievable. He was out for over a year and a half, and he came back. He played the last 6 games of his season.
Here's the captain, Bernard King.
He became a free agent, and he signed a contract with the Washington Bullets. Then his first game back to the Garden, he scores 40.
Bernard King, again. I think Bernard came to play.
And this is really where he makes his mark outside of New York. 3 or 4 years after coming back from the knee injury that basically wipes out 2 years, he's an all-star level performer again for Washington, averaging again close to 28, 29 points a game.
In his 4th All-Star game, forward Bernard King.
He made it work, and it was because of his desire, his competitive nature, his pride, and really his basketball IQ, because he figured out how he could be successful without having the same skill level as he had previously.
It's good to see him run the floor like that. That's what he did so well before the knee injury.
When you think about his career and what might have happened if he didn't blow out his knee that night in Kansas City, he might have been an all-time lock for the top 50.
Bernard King over Vanderway.
And then you also have to credit him for showing the wherewithal and the perseverance to come back.
A tremendous performance by Bernard King. His first 50-point game since undergoing major knee surgery.
Will is more important than skill. And Bernard had great skill, but he had an iron will. And no one was as fierce competitive. And no one in the NBA had the heart that he had and played with the iron will that he played with.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, in my opinion, the greatest offensive scoring threat in the history of basketball.
He was the most dominating player I've ever seen.
He was a devastating scoring machine. He was the kind of guy where you gave him the ball, he could score at will. That's the kind of skill he had.
For his first 2 NBA seasons, he was known as Lou Alcindor. In 1971, he changed his name, but the game stayed the same.
Several thousand skyhooks later, they know him, of course, as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He's got the feel.
Yes, he does.
He introduces an offensive weapon to the game which has really never been matched, the skyhook.
Kareem's totally dominating the game now with that famous skyhook.
People talk about how that came about because we couldn't dunk in college. He had to develop a post move. And he develops this skyhook, which is basically unguardable.
Kareem going to swing another hook shot. It's good again.
In many respects, it had perfected his game.
Kareem hits again with a skyhook.
When he decided it was time to do what Kareem does well, he would just turn with one of those hook shots and the party's over.
He's an awesome presence at 7'2", and then he's got those big hands, and then he's looking down in the basket as he's throwing that sky hook. It's basically unstoppable.
You put those goggles on, it was like he had more protection than anyone else. The only thing you could do was hit him in his eyes and stop him from his hook shot.
Greenback's here. Hook shot. It's up. Let's go. Let's go. The all-time leading scorer in the history of professional basketball, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
The NBA's all-time leading scorer, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, played an incredible 20 years in the league. A 19-time All-Star, 6-time MVP, and 6-time NBA champion, Kareem made an impact while still a youngster in Manhattan.
I saw, when he was Ferdinand Lewis Alcindor, I saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar play in the 8th grade.
He's playing at Power Memorial, and he gets to be friends with Red Auerbach. And the reason is that the Celtics, before they would play the Knicks in New York, would come to New York and practice at Power Memorial.
I remember you back in high school when you came in our dressing room and so forth. Did you spend much time on developing your shooting, your touch?
I've been playing ball since I was 7 or 8 years old. And after a while, you instinctively learn how to shoot.
As a sophomore, junior, and senior at Power Memorial, he was the most dominating player I've ever seen in high school.
As he was in college, playing for UCLA.
And then he went to the NBA and was as dominant as anybody. That's how New York kind of builds its reputation.
And he's the #1 pick. He goes to the Milwaukee Bucks in the second year of the franchise was in existence.
Kareem's gone on a mission.
So next year they win an NBA title.
Big fella! Hey, Luke. Big fella! Luke, congratulations. Oscar just paid you a great compliment. You had a great series. Congratulations. A big help. He was a big help. Listen, Oscar played a hell of a game. How about yourself? You played a great game. Congratulations on the MVP. Thank you very much.
What I liked about him was the way he utilized the people on his team. He always incorporated the other players in the scheme of things on the court.
He was very unselfish. He was a good defender.
Unbelievable. He had won a title in Milwaukee. He had been an MVP player. I mean, he had been a tremendous star. Goes to the Lakers. He's scoring more points. He's a guy who still can put the ball in the hole with that sky hook because no one can stop.
Kareem, sky hook, Lakers win. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson is out there celebrating.
And he is hooked up with Magic Johnson. And they're aligned throughout the 80s.
I don't believe my eyes. What a play.
In a team that's the first team since the great Celtics of Russell to repeat. And they do that in the late 80s.
What an emotional moment.
I would think the #1 thing about him is that he's the winner.
And when he produces, they win.
On all levels, he's a tremendous champion.
He set the standard for everybody to try to emulate.
7 seconds. Kareem with a big pressure shot.
He just did it all, and he was really fun to watch.
Kareem, 12-footer, good.
The only player ever to win 6 MVPs, win 6 championships, retires as the all-time leading scorer in the history of the NBA, 38,387 points. The most dominating big man in the history of the game at every level, both high school, college, and pro, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
New York is a city of dreams. And for those sons of the city who yearn for basketball glory, it is unmatched as a proving ground for NBA stardom.
What I love about it is the Knicks can be winning or losing, but basketball is still a hugely popular sport in New York City. People talk about it, people play it, people live it.
They talk about basketball being invented in Springfield, Massachusetts by James Naismith. I think most New York City kids think that basketball was invented somewhere in Brooklyn on an asphalt court.
We played on concrete against a rim that didn't have a net. And if you got dunked on in my part, they took your sneakers from you.
You wanted to go across the country wherever you played and let people know you're from New York and represent New York and represent it well.
And I think New York City players always think that they're better than everybody else, which in some ways isn't the worst thing. I think that's always the attitude that they have from high school to college onto the pros.
It's not arrogance, but a feeling that they are the best, simply because they've played against the best.
There's an inner-city grit and toughness there also, and an ability to figure out what's going to get you on the court, what's going to keep you on the court, what's going to enable your team to win.
In terms of attitude and talent, I would say chip on their shoulder, but guys that know how to back it up, and guys that know that when the game is on the line, it's not just about who has the most talent, but who's going to be the toughest guy out there.